Today, we go over 7 key differences between our traditional grade and signature grade Stronghold Iron fence and gates. Hey everyone, Jason from Iron Fence Shop. While we've done a few different videos on the different grades of Stronghold Iron fence and gates, we've had some requests to dig a little deeper and show more specific details. So what I've put together today is 7 key differences between these 2 different grades of iron fence and gates to show you what sets them apart. If you're new to Iron Fence Shop or you found this video before our other ones on iron fence grade, I'll give you a quick run through. Fence grade is sort of like the toughness rating of a fence panel or gate. Our traditional grade fence and gates would be the equivalent of a standard duty residential use fence. Our signature grade fence and gates are the equivalent of a heavy duty commercial use fence. Now, does that mean you shouldn't use our signature grade fence at your home and our traditional grade at your business? Well, it's a good loose guideline. It's not always the case. The area it's being installed in, along with the desired look and function of the fence, can all come into play. We have lots of happy homeowners that love the look of their signature grade fence around their home. When in doubt, reach out to us here at Iron Fence Shop and we can help you decide which grade will work best for you. Another thing to check out on ironfenceshop.com and to keep in mind is not every style or part is offered in both grades. Some styles like puppy and hoop are only offered in traditional grade. Our big arch driveway gates are only offered in signature grade. Styles like classic and pool are offered in both. So when planning your project, be sure to check what's available in each grade on the website. Again, if you have questions, feel free to reach out to us by phone or email. We're happy to help walk you through the options. With our little primer on the traditional grade and signature grade out of the way, let's jump into the 7 key differences between the two. Let's start with key difference number 1 between traditional and signature grade: picket size. I have a sample piece of our signature grade iron here on the right and a sample piece of our traditional grade iron on the left. Our larger signature grade piece has a 3/4 inch square picket and has a 16 gauge wall thickness. 16 gauge is roughly 1/16 of an inch wall thickness. Our smaller traditional grade piece has a 1/2 inch square picket and has an 18 gauge wall thickness. 18 gauge is roughly 1/20 of an inch wall thickness. For those of you not familiar with gauge, it's how metal thickness is typically stated. So while I'll be giving the gauge thickness numbers along the way for the specs, I'll express that in a fraction as well so you know both. While a 1/4 inch difference in size between the 2 pickets doesn't sound like much, you can see in the larger pieces behind me here, it's pretty noticeable from a distance. The larger signature grade piece over here tends to stand out a bit more than its traditional grade equivalent over here. That thicker picket wall also comes into play in terms of bend resiliency and weight. While we're close to the picket, let's roll into key difference number 2 between traditional grade and signature grade: finial size. For those of you not familiar, the finial is this cast iron piece that fits over the top of the picket and gets welded on. It's a small decorative element, but it goes a long way in giving the fence a real and authentic look. As I'm sure you notice when we look at the pickets, the iron finial casting on the signature grade here is much larger than it is on the traditional grade piece. The signature grade iron finial casting from square base to rounded tip is 6 inches tall and 2 inch across the fins. The smaller traditional grade casting from square base to rounded tip is 4¼ inches tall and 1 inch across the fins. Like with picket sizes, while the number doesn't sound drastically different, they are noticeable in person. As you can see behind me here, the larger signature grade finials are going to stand out and be more of a focal point than they will be on the smaller traditional grade finial castings. Our third key difference between traditional and signature grade is horizontal rail size. While we have 2 different sizes of horizontal rail, we use the same 11 gauge or 1/8 inch thick rails on both grades. These horizontal rails are rolled to a shape, punched, and then the picket is fed through and welded from underneath. While the horizontal rails are the same thickness, they are different widths to accommodate the different picket sizes. If you look from the top down here, you will see that the signature grade railing is 1½ inches wide, whereas the traditional grade is 1 inch wide. That difference in railing width will also mean a difference in the bracket size used. You can see the wider signature grade rail uses a larger fence bracket than the smaller traditional grade rail. Both rails will have a 1/2 inch rolled face on each side here, regardless of grade. That brings us to key difference number 4 between traditional and signature grade: post size. This one isn't a locked-in difference, as you can switch between post sizes in our Stronghold Iron. Our 2 inch, 2½ inch, and 3 inch posts used on the fence panels and walk gates all come in a 14 gauge or 5/64 of an inch wall thickness. Only our much larger 4x4 and 6x6 posts used exclusively for driveway gates will be a thicker 7 gauge or 3/16 inch wall thickness. Typically with our traditional grade iron fence, you'll have a mix of post sizes. For your fence panels, we'll quote you a 2 inch square post. For your gates, we'll quote you a 2½ inch square post. We bump up the gate post sizes since they exert more pressure and leverage force on the post than a stationary fence panel does. For our signature grade iron fencing gates, we'll quote you all 2.5-inch square posts. If you're using a really tall and large double gate, we may bump your gate post to a 3-inch square size. Unlike an aluminum fence where you have specific line, end, and corner posts, iron posts are considered blank and interchangeable. So if you want to use all 3-inch posts with traditional grade for a bulkier look, you absolutely can. Want to use 4x4 posts around gates, corners, and ends for a more defined look? You can do that too if you want. Nothing mechanically is stopping you from swapping post sizes between the different grades of iron fencing gate. However, we do caution you don't want to go too light either. For instance, I would not recommend hanging a signature grade gate on a 2-inch square post. Speaking of gates, that brings us to key difference number 5 between traditional and signature grade: gate frame size. Framing around your gate is key to its structural rigidity, or basically what keeps it from sagging and dragging over time. We build all of our gates with what is called a U-frame, where the framing comes down each side and across the bottom in one welded piece. This is a far superior method of gate construction compared to how most of them do it. A lot of companies will have the side framing here, but skip the bottom frame in favor of a smaller fence rail welded across. These are called open bottom gates, and they are simply a way to cut costs while giving you a weaker gate. Here I have one of our signature grade classic gates next to one of our traditional grade hoop and picket gates. All of our traditional grade iron gates will have a 1.5-inch square gate frame in a 14 gauge or 5/64 of an inch thickness. If it is a signature grade iron walk gate up to 12 feet wide, it will have a larger 2-inch square gate frame and the same 14 gauge or 5/64 thickness. Our arched driveway gates only get built in signature grade, and they use a 2-inch square gate frame as well. However, we thicken the 2-inch frame up to 11 gauge or 1/8 of an inch thick to handle the additional leverage force of the bigger and wider driveway gate leafs. Key difference number 6 between traditional and signature grade fence panels and gates is weight. As you can imagine, all of the larger component size and thicknesses of the signature grade pieces add up to a difference in the weight of the pieces. That weight difference can be anywhere from 75 to 95% more in the signature grade. For example, let's consider our 6 foot tall by 8 foot wide classic panel. That panel in my traditional grade weighs about 70 pounds. That same panel in signature grade weighs 120 pounds. That's 50 pounds more metal in the signature grade piece. All that extra heft is what gives the signature grade its commercial or heavy duty rating. Final key difference number 7 between traditional and signature grade iron fence panels and gates is cost. If you're loving the heavier duty signature grade with all its beefier components, just know that all that extra metal comes at a cost. On average, you'll be spending $100 to $125 more per panel when jumping from traditional grade to signature grade. And keep in mind that is just the panel cost difference. You'll also have bigger signature grade posts and hardware adding to the cost as well. It's fairly common for a signature grade quote to be 40 to 50% higher in cost than its traditional grade counterpart. So keep the project budget in mind as well when choosing between a signature grade and traditional grade iron fencing gate. So there are 7 key differences between our signature grade and traditional grade iron fence and gate pieces. Hopefully that gave you a more detailed and up-close view on how they differ. Be sure to check us out here at ironfenceshop.com. Now that you know the differences between the grades, want some guidance on which one to go with for your project? Check out this video we did. If you have any other questions, you can shoot us an email at sales@ironfenceshop.com or give us a call at 800-261-2729. We look forward to hearing from you.